G'day guys, here's a quick guide for the new Saboteur class that's just been added to Enlisted. I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how I've set mine up, then I'll show you how I use them in-game and finish with a few tips and tricks that I've discovered over the last few days. Plus, run through a few suggestions on how I think they could be improved. If you've seen some of my other content, then you'll know that I love a good tank hunt, so I was really keen to give these guys a try. And, as an Aussie player, I couldn't go past unlocking the Aussie Saboteur first. For the setup, I tried to build them in a similar way to how I run my tank hunters in other squads. I left him with his original SMG, but swapped the sidearm for the suppressed well rod pistol just for a bit of fun. I also swapped the knife for an axe so I could sprint around a bit easier, and added a canteen to keep my stamina up. For explosives, I added the Molotov first because it's good for distracting infantry and buying a few seconds when you need them. I also took 2 explosive packs for tanks and finished with a TNT block as well, which gives me the potential for taking out at least 3 tanks if things go well. Looking at the squad upgrades, I was a little disappointed to see that there weren't really any advancement options. There is the option to swap the backpack slot for a secondary weapon, but that means losing the ability to carry multiple grenades, and in my opinion, that trade just isn't worth it. And when it comes to the perks, I did change some of the starting ones. For instance, I removed the extra grenade throw range and instead took the reduced recoil and faster reload. I kept the extra vitality perk and added health regeneration to support it, along with some stamina regeneration and resistance to head shaking, given that I'll be fighting in close quarters around tanks. Lastly, I added some extra run speed to help me get around the map, and aim speed to help keep me alive a bit longer. I also added medpack use speed and extra jump height, which is always useful for getting to elevated positions to escape other players, and also to gain a height advantage over tanks, which can often make it easier when taking them out. Now, I had a really fun game whilst I was first figuring out how to play the Saboteur, but sadly I didn't record it properly. I do have some good footage from other games though, so let's have a look at that. Before I start each game, I like to quickly look at the map and decide where and how I'm going to attack. In this particular game, I decided to push up the right flank, using the terrain to conceal me, and then cut across the back, looking for any rally points, APCs or tanks. I was lucky enough to find a downed German soldier halfway up the flank, and I was able to swap uniforms with him. To do so, you just approach the body, look at it, and then hold down your use button, which is F on the keyboard, and your soldier will start changing uniform. If there are enemy soldiers nearby though, you won't be able to do this, and you will need to make sure that the coast is clear, or at least that you're out of sight before your soldier will start changing uniforms. Once the uniform is changed, you'll notice that this little icon down here changes from a red eye with a line through it to a little spy face. That means you've entered stealth mode or incognito mode, and enemy bots won't react to you if they spot you or if you move near them. You just need to make sure that you don't get spotted by any human players. Human players are usually easier to spot because they move more independently and purposefully, or they'll be leading their squad with their bots trailing behind them. Now I can hear an enemy tank just up behind the tree line and another one further up in the distance on the right, so I head over there to take the first one out. Once I locate the tank, I quickly check that the coast is clear, pull out my TNT, run up and stick it on the side of the tank near the ammo rack, and then move around to the other side where I can safely detonate it. You'll notice here that the little icon didn't change, which means I'm still in stealth mode because no enemies saw me destroy the tank. And from what I've experienced, as long as no enemy players or bots witness your destructive actions, you'll remain hidden in that stealth mode. Because of that, I'm able to freely push up on this next tank. I use the trees to hide my approach, and when I get closer, I notice the second tank is stuck in the trenches. I quickly throw an explosive pack so it lands under the tank, and because no one saw me do it, I remain in stealth mode. In this next example, we're going to see that happen again, as I managed to take out 3 tanks. On this D-Day map, I'm able to push up on the left flank and swap uniforms with this German soldier which I downed. I then move up and take cover in these trenches. When the timing is right, I sneak up on this enemy tank and place a TNT charge on it, and then return to the safety of the trench to blow it up. I can hear a second tank approaching, so I move up to engage it. And because this tank has a high chance of spotting me, I need to take it out quickly. It was a bit risky, but no soldiers witnessed this, so I still remained hidden. I can then move up on this third tank, and again, I have to deal with it quickly before I get taken out by the tank commander. Now there was an enemy infantry and a motorbike squad nearby when I did this, so this time I was seen and I'm no longer hidden. The bots start shooting at me, and eventually they take me out. Now I want to share with you a few additional things that I discovered while playing as a saboteur, so you can make use of them in your next game. It seems that as long as the enemy has their back to you, they won't notice you if you do something hostile. For example, these guys all have their back to me, and when the Molotov hits them, I still remain in stealth mode until I start shooting. That's when I lose my hidden status. Fortunately, I'm able to regain it again quickly. Similarly, when I snuck up behind this squad, I was able to take them out one at a time with my axe because none of the other squad members saw what I was doing. Whereas, when I did this later in the game, the enemy soldiers witnessed my initial attack, so I was discovered, which meant I had to fight like a man possessed until the rest of the nearby soldiers were taken out, and only then could I change outfits and become hidden again.
Capturing the position. Capturing.
Now if you can get behind the enemy, there's a good chance that they'll be facing away for you, and you can take them out whilst not being detected. And from what I've seen, you don't need to be very far away before the bots lose track of where you are. In this next game, I was able to stay well behind the enemy lines and continually shoot at them from the rear. I purposefully set up in the next capture zone, so when the active zone was captured, we immediately started capping the new one, causing confusion and putting extra psychological pressure on the enemy team. I will then move out of the zone and move back behind enemy lines and repeat the process again. One other thing I noticed is you can get points for simply marking a target, like I did when I marked this tank here. And when that target is destroyed while marked, you get additional points again. And just as a side note here, if you place TNT on a target and no longer need to detonate it, you can pick it back up by approaching it and pressing the use button. Likewise, if you mark an APC, you will also get some points, and when it's taken out by an ally, you'll get additional points again. One other thing that I discovered is that in some instances, the saboteur won't allow you to change uniform. That usually means there are enemy soldiers nearby, but once you've dealt with them, you should be able to change like normal. Likewise, if you're changing uniforms and your saboteur suddenly stops, that means the enemy soldiers are close by and you've been spotted. You also won't be able to change uniforms with a soldier who is killed by a large explosion, such as an aircraft bomb or artillery. The best way to make sure that you can change your uniform is to take it from a soldier that you've taken out yourself. Also, once you've changed uniform, try to pick up an enemy weapon, because that'll help you sell your disguise to human players on the enemy team. Iconic weapons like these rifles with a Japanese flag are ideal and really help you to blend in. One of the great bonuses of being hidden from the bots is the ability to approach APCs without being instantly sniped. My favourite thing to do is place a TNT on the APC and then detonate it as it drives away. And lastly, if you want to be a true master of disguise, be careful not to do anything too obvious that will give you away, like destroying a rally point the second it gets built, because that's a sure way to get yourself caught. Now there are a few things that I think could be added to make the saboteur more playable. For example, as an expected expert in explosives, they should get a bonus for setting or disarming the bomb when playing destruction mode. They should also be able to disarm enemy anti-personnel and anti-tank mines, and maybe even allowed to collect them to add to their inventory. They should be able to collect ammo from enemy crates, or maybe even rig these types of player-built items to explode if someone tries to use them. These types of abilities would give them more reasons to operate closer to the point, instead of always being forced into long flanks behind enemy lines. I'd also love to see them get some proper options in the squad development tree, and let us progress through them instead of just giving us a ready-made squad. For example, we could be given the choice of specialising into more defined roles, such as an infiltrator or spy, who could spawn on the enemy side of the map, for example, or as a demolition expert, who could place a much larger charge capable of affecting several rooms of a building, a bit like the explosives in the movie Valkyrie. where anyone not killed by the blast would at least be downed, blinded, and left with ringing ears for several seconds, depending on how close they were to the blast. Or maybe even a specialist like an assassin, who has access to some of the more unusual World War II gadgets, like the glove pistol or other covert style equipment. But anyways, those are just my thoughts, and I'm hoping the developers expand the class a bit more for us in the near future. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and do let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you enjoy using the Saboteur class? Do you think they need reworking, and if so, what would you change? If you like this type of content, feel free to like, subscribe, and check out some of my other enlisted guides as well. I will have some guides for the other soldier class types, and they'll be coming out in the near future. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.